Hello everybody, welcome back to the YouTube channel. In today's video, session number 2 for the for the modern day of the channel, I should say. And in today's video, I'm going to be walking you guys through my chest and delts session. And if you don't know what delts is, basically just refers to deltoids, which is your shoulders. So what I'm going to be going through with you guys is in terms of the shoulders, what I do for my front shoulder, the front part of my shoulder, the front delt, and the lateral delt, so the side bit of the shoulder as well. And in today's video, you're going to see me go through 6 exercises. I'm going to do 3 exercises for chest, and I'm going to do 3 exercises for shoulders in total. This video is going to be packed full of tips, and tricks and all that stuff as they will evolve to get better as well. And one more thing that I just want to disclaim. So I'm just going to switch my I'm going to switch arms real quick. So one thing that I want to disclaim, or just get the message across to you guys, the one thing that I want to say is, as you are a beginner watching this, because that's who I tailor my videos towards to, the main thing I want you to take away from this video, and I'm going to keep saying this in every video because it's so important, I don't necessarily want you to take away the intensity that I'm training at, because it has taken me over 4 years to get to this point, and you don't want to train like me, you want to train like a beginner. And training like me, with the intensity you see on the screen, won't help you in your situation at all. However, what will help you in your situation is if you actually look at and note down, not just, you know, physically if you do take notes, but mentally as well, how I'm performing the exercises, how all the tips I'm giving, the technique, the form, as that is the most important thing you've got to get, or you've got to focus on, sorry, I should say, as a beginner. Because especially for beginners, consistency is so much more important than intensity, because if you don't have consistency, then you are not going to get from point A to point B. So it is very, very important that you just focus on the technique and how I'm performing exercises, and all the tips and tricks that I'm going to be giving you throughout this video. So I don't have too much more to say, apart from the exercises we're going to be going over. So exercise number 1, we are going to be going over pec deck with you guys. Exercise number 2, I'm going to be doing incline Smith machine, which is one of my favorite exercises at the moment. Exercise number 3 is a machine chest press. Exercise number 4 is a what is it? Oh yeah, exercise number 4 is a cable lateral raise variant. Exercise number 5 is a dumbbell lateral raise, and number 6 is a Smith machine shoulder press. So I haven't got much more to say, and I don't want to bore you, and I want to educate you guys with my gym sessions. So without further ado, thank you very much for watching. Well, I'm doing it like it's the outro anyways. I'll see you at the gym. Hello everybody, once again, I am having to take over this voiceover. Apologies, and I'm really annoyed because I've edited this video and I uploaded it to YouTube. As you can see, I was speaking in the video, but copyright, the music in the background in my gym, I can't do anything about it, so it's really annoying. However, I will find a way around this stuff, but for now I don't think I'll be able to actually speak in the gym, and if I want to give pointers and stuff, I think I'm just gonna have to voice over. But as long as you guys learn something, that's the most important thing, right? So I'll just try and sort of talk about the points as the video plays out. So exercise number 1, we're starting off with pec deck, and the tips that I try to give before copyright struck me down on YouTube, is that you basically want to have the seat in line with the middle of your chest. And the reason why you want the seat in this specific position is because you don't necessarily want the chair to be too high, because then what happens is your traps will start to come up as you come back on the pec deck. Therefore that just takes the tension off the chest, and it's not as effective. And likewise, for if you have the seat too low, then one of the bad things about that is that you're just going to put unnecessary strain on your shoulders, and we don't necessarily want to sort of wear and tear your shoulders down. So as you can see right here, I'm explaining that you want to have the pec deck sort of in alignment with the middle of your chest. Also, one other thing that I go on about as well that's really important is your shoulder position when you are doing this exercise. And with most chest exercises in general, you want to make sure you retract your shoulders, which is super, super important. So what you want to do is you basically just want to go up, back, and down, and that is going to keep your scapula completely retracted and your shoulders completely retracted. And what this basically does with your chest movements is it sticks out your chest further. So when you lower the weight on whatever exercise it is, whether it's pec deck or incline Smith machine, etc., etc., you're basically able to get a bigger stretch, and your chest is going to be more isolated. Therefore, all of the tension and all the resistance from the machine is going to be placed not on your shoulders, not anywhere else in your body, but just your chest, which just makes the exercise a whole lot more efficient. And as I've said in previous videos, muscle growth isn't necessarily about how heavy we lift, but how heavy we can make the weight feel on our chest. And by retracting our shoulders, we can make the weight feel ridiculously heavy on our chest, therefore just being so much more efficient. So as you can see now, I'm doing a warm-up, and I go on to say in the video, or actually I think I just previously said it before I did this, that you want to be doing high volume and going really slow and nice and controlled in your warm-ups. A huge mistake that people make is that when they warm up, because it's so light, they sort of, it's not necessarily an ego thing, but they just want to go quick just to sort of assure them in their heads that this is a lightweight. As much as you know it is a lightweight and you can go quick and you can move the weight quick, you want to still treat it like a working set. You still want to perform at the same tempo as you would perform a working set. So as you can see here, even though I'm going really light, I'm performing the exercise nice and slow, controlled, mindful, which is not only just going to help me get the blood in my muscle, but also help me with a mind muscle connection and just get me primed, not just physically, but mentally for the sets as well. And as you can see on the screen right now, I'm basically showing you what this shoulder retraction will look like, and how it will basically, how it basically benefits the movement. So as you can see, if you don't have your shoulders retracted, then that's what's going to happen. Your shoulders are going to come forward, they're going to take over the movement, therefore not having any activation on the chest. However, if you have your shoulders retracted, this is exactly what is going to happen right here. So your chest is going to be sticking out. Nothing, no other muscles are going to be involved in the movement. Your chest is going to be completely isolated, therefore ensuring that you get maximal, that your sets are of maximum efficiency and high quality. And one more thing that I'll quickly make sure I go over with you guys is that you want to make sure that for the first exercise of a muscle group, you want to be doing more warm-up sets. And as I just said, not just for the sake of getting the blood in there and risking the injury, reducing the risk of injury, which is obviously important, but for the mind-muscle connection purposes, priming yourself physically and mentally to attack that muscle. And we don't want to be working a cold muscle because that is a recipe for disaster. Um, but yeah, that's one other thing. And the final tip that I give for pec deck right here is that, or any chest exercise in general, if you're doing anything that's converging, so that basically means coming together. So with a pec deck, your arms are converging. With incline dumbbell press, your arms are converging at the top because you bring the dumbbells back up to the top. With any exercise like that, you want to make sure that you do not touch the dumbbells if it's dumbbell press at the top. You want to leave a slight gap. And as you can see with pec deck right now, you can see that I'm not making the handles touch at the top. And the reason why you want to leave a slight gap, so just like that, when you get to the top of the movement, is because when you touch, you basically bring all of the tension off the muscle and you put all of the resistance and the weight onto the machine, right? Which essentially helps you get more reps. And it is sort of cheating, which is not effective, right? So we want to make sure we are being able to stimulate our muscle as much as possible. So just make sure in chest exercises you leave a slight gap if you're bringing dumbbells together at the top of dumbbell press, or the handles together for pec deck in example, right? I was also saying one more other thing here. Oh yeah, that's one more thing. So another tip for chest exercises in general, right, is imagine that someone has put their fingers or a pencil down your sternum. So your sternum is basically the bit that runs down the middle of your chest. Imagine someone put a pencil there, right? And when you do the repetition, so when I do pec deck and I squeeze my chest together, you want to imagine you want to keep that pencil there, right? You cannot let that pencil drop. So you want to think about squeezing that pencil between your chest as much as you possibly can. Not only is this going to improve your mind muscle connection, but it's also going to make things 10 times better, right? And the better the mind muscle connection you have during an exercise and with a muscle, the more progress you're going to make. So that's just going to help make things more profound, mindful, which is obviously going to make your exercises and the performance in the gym a lot better, right? So as you can see, I just finished my first working set on pec deck, and I'm basically just going over how you don't want to be looking at my intensity. You just saw me going to failure and doing partials because you're a beginner. You don't need to be doing that yet. It's pretty advanced and a bit down the line, but you just want to be looking at how I'm performing the exercise. So as you can see, nice, slow control, pause at the top, slight pause at the bottom as well when I lower the movement all the way back here, which basically just kills any momentum, putting all of the responsibility on my chest to do the repetition, right? And another thing as well, I can give myself a little bit of criticism here. I should keep my chin higher up, right? Which is further going to put emphasis on that retraction of the shoulders and further emphasis on squeezing the chest out, right? Because if you think about it, if you're just like this, then your front delta is more likely to take over. However, if you're like this with your chin up, then it's just going to make your chest a lot more isolated. So now moving on to exercise number 2. So our converging chest press. And if you don't know what converging means, it basically just means it comes together at the top. So as you can see on this machine, as I'm about to demonstrate, the handles come together at the top. And one tip that I give for this exercise, I'm actually quite surprised I'm remembering all of these tips despite me watching this as it is muted. I'm pretty impressed with my memory. But anyways, one tip that I would give for your hand placement on the handles is you don't want to put your hands too close together on the handles, right? The reason this is because the closer you put your handles on a type of press like this or on a chest press in general, the more the triceps are going to be involved. However, we just want it to be chest. So as you can see what I'm doing here, I just put my hands slap bang in the middle of the handles, which allows me to fully isolate the chest. And another thing that I'm doing here that you can see is that I'm flaring my elbows out, not necessarily all the way to 180 degrees, but you know, I'm flaring my elbows out enough. And if you don't know what I mean by flaring the elbows, basically just means putting them out to your side, just like this. Um, and this basically takes all tricep out of the movement and just purely focuses on chest, right? So as you can see, I'm doing my working set now. And I know I said that I was going to do incline Smith machine before machine chest press. However, there was someone already on the Smith machine. So if you have that situation, so you want to do an exercise, however, the machine is taken, then you can always switch things around in your program. It's not like you have to be robotic with it. I did this exercise, I switched them around. It's not the end of the world. And even though I may be lifting less weight on the Smith machine than I usually do because I did an extra exercise before, it's not the end of the world, because a really important lesson to learn about muscle growth, as I said just a few minutes ago, it's not about the weight you're lifting, but how heavy you make the weight feel on your muscle. And you got to think about it like this, right? The muscle doesn't have eyes, right? The chest can't see how heavy it's lifting. All it knows is how effectively it's being stimulated, right? So whether I'm lifting 200 kilos or 90 kilos, as long as I'm stimulating the muscle properly, I've got a good mind muscle connection. That is the most important thing for muscle growth, right? So now moving on to exercise number 3. So we've got incline Smith machine. So the tips I'm giving for this is obviously you want to keep your shoulders retracted, which basically just helps you Oh, my microphone is almost falling off my desk. That is not good. So basically, the tips I'm giving for this is you want to have your shoulders retracted, which just puts emphasis on the stretch of the chest. You want to keep your hands just wider than shoulder width apart. I've got the bench on a 30-degree incline for when, if you want to do this exercise, just letting you know that how I'm doing this exercise. And as you can see, I'm basically dropping the bar just below my chin, which allows it to be full upper chest, right? It allows you to get the bit of the chest right up here. This is not as heavy as I usually go. However, that does not matter, because the only thing that matters is how effectively you are stimulating the muscle. And I was watching a YouTube video of some professional female bodybuilders actually training legs, and they made a really good point, which sort of just sends this point home that I'm trying to make, that weight isn't everything, right? But in order to be the most effective you can possibly be for muscle growth, these women were talking about how you want to think about being able to use the lightest weight possible and get maximum output from it, right? It's not about heavy weight, because, as I just said, the muscle doesn't know how heavy it's lifting. But the lighter you can, the heavier you can make lighter weight feel, the better you're going to be in terms of performance in the gym and in terms of muscle growth. A huge mistake that a lot of beginners make is they think that weight matters, and a lot of them lift for their ego, which, don't get me wrong, I made that mistake and I hold my hands up. However, I don't want you to make that mistake. So just keep in mind that it's not about how heavy you lift, but it's about your ability to make heavy weight. It's about your ability to make lightweight feel as heavy as possible, right? And as you can see, I just took my chest to failure with 60 kilos on the Smith machine, right? And to put something into perspective, it's not like I'm weak, right? Because in the past, I benched 140 kilos for one rep at 18 years old at 73 kilo body weight. So I'm able to bench almost double my own body weight, and bench more than most people that go to the gym. However, I'm not saying that as an egotistical thing. I'm just saying it to prove a point that I'm strong. However, I'm able to fatigue my chest with 60 kilos on the Smith machine, if that makes sense. So that's one thing that is really, really important. So, as you just saw, I did cable lateral raises. That was my first shoulder exercise, and obviously a couple of pointers for that. You want to make sure that your shoulders are retracted again. No surprise. You want to make sure you're lateral raising out to the side as much as you possibly can, and you want to be leading the movement with your elbows, as I just talked about previously. Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm going to have to take over this voiceover again because I didn't speak too much towards the latter part of this video. However, there is something really interesting coming up that I'll explain in just a second. But I just thought I'll voice over that this variant of lateral raises, I'm most certainly going to start doing it. It is an absolute killer, right? So what you want to do is you want to grab a bench in your gym, set it up to basically 75 degrees on the incline, so one before it's like fully upright at 90 degrees. And then what you want to do is you want to obviously press your chest against it. You want to have the dumbbells out in front of you. So what you want to do now is, as you're in the position, retract your shoulders, put them back, and put the dumbbells down. And then what you want to do is you want to twist your elbows in, and then you basically want to lateralize out. And what this does is it keeps the elbows leading the movement, right? You don't want your hands going first, you want your elbows going first. And what this does is it really, really targets the medial delt, right? So what I want you to do now, I'm going to pause this video very quick and just do this. So what I want you to do now is put one hand on your medial delt and lateral raise, but with your elbow doing this motion, leading the movement, right? You're going to feel your lateral head a lot more, right? So that is something, and I'm going to leave you guys because I want you to watch this clip of this guy that basically just showed me a superset he does for shoulders, or a big set he does for shoulders. And it's really insightful. He gave me some tips and tricks, and I'm going to talk more on that at the end of the video, as I said. However, just sit back, relax, and enjoy this next section of the video. This gent here was basically teaching me something that he does for his own shoulder day, and it is very, very extreme. However, this once again just drives home the point that weight doesn't matter. Look at how tiny those dumbbells are that I'm lifting with. They are 2.5 kilo dumbbells, right? And as you can see at the end of this lateral rep range that I'm doing right here for the lateral delt, you can see that towards the end I sort of struggle a little bit, and that is 2.5 kilos, right? So weight doesn't matter. It's about how heavy you can make the lightest weight feel, right? And obviously I'm gonna increase the weight when I do this next time. However, what this gent basically made me do was lay on the bench at 30 on a 30-degree incline, and he basically made me do 10 reps for the front delt. He basically made me do 10 reps for a version of lateral raises, as you just saw, where I had the dumbbell facing out. And then he made me do 10 reps for rear delt, and then he made me do another 10 reps for another rear delt variation. So 40 reps in total, and this is an absolute killer. You can try it if you want. I'm most certainly going to try it when I next train shoulders. But as you can see here, he was just teaching me the form, and I go on about this when I'm posing in a couple of minutes. But it's just really important that you sort of have your mind open to learning. You know, even though I'm 4 years into this journey and I've built a decent physique myself, I would say, and I've accumulated a lot of knowledge to the point where I'm most certainly qualified to teach people who are beginning out how to do the same. I've always got one more thing. I've always got more to learn, right? And genuinely, this really did make my week. You know, when I've been watching this YouTube video back and looking at this and seeing him adjust my form and giving me tips, I've missed this about training. You know, I really like having someone with more experience than me, sort of like, you know, giving me that accountability and just basically critiquing me, right? It's what I love. I genuinely love this stuff so much, and I do mean it when I said this made my week. Because I went home really happy that A, I got this on camera so I can show you guys, but B, because I've learnt something new, which I can also help you guys with even more, right? So, yeah, he's just basically talking me through shoulders right now and some really important lessons and pointers to do with shoulders. But I'm going to fast forward now to when I'm actually able to speak, and when YouTube won't poke me in the arse for copyright. So thanks for listening to my voiceover if you have made it this far, and I will see you in the posing room. So that is chest and delts, or I should say front shoulder and your medial head of the shoulder. As you can see, I did do shoulder press because I got lectured by someone I know in my gym, teaching me form and stuff for my front shoulder. I hope you can hear the audio because it was very valuable, all of the stuff he was talking about. But I thought I'd just show you guys my pump, because why not? I'm going to take my microphone off because obviously I'm going to take this off. Chest is pumped. I didn't necessarily give you too much speaking, too many minutes of speaking over the shoulder exercises, so I just want to go over a few things now. And if you didn't necessarily hear what the guy was saying, the gent was saying to me, I'll sort of just sum it up. So one of the most important things for shoulder exercises is, well, there's a couple of important things. One of the most important things is making sure you're performing the technique nicely, mindfully, and slowly. Just like I'm saying with every single movement in the gym, but notably with shoulders. And the reason why is because it is such an isolated muscle, and you really need to be specific with it. This is why I say you need to focus on technique, because in order to target the muscle properly, you need to be specific, and you don't want to
perform technique bad on exercises when you're beginning the gym. Therefore, when you sort of get down the line, you don't want to have taken up bad habits with exercises, which can inevitably lead to increasing your risk of injury when you get heavier with the weights. So one of the most important things with shoulders, as I said with chest as well, is making sure you retract your scapula. Keep your scapula retracted so you're completely isolating your shoulders, right? So you're just simply moving up, back and down, and that is what keeps the shoulder completely isolated, right? And in terms of the lateral raises, as I was saying with you guys, what you want to do is you just want to keep your shoulders retracted, so up, back, down, and then you just want to lateral raise out to the side as much as you can. You don't necessarily want to be going forward or backwards, because that's going to get too much of your front delt and too much of the delt back here, but you don't necessarily need to worry about that yet. But one of the most important things is making sure you're isolating those shoulders. So even though I'm a coach and even though I'm teaching people stuff, there's always something you can be learning, right? Once you get into the gym and once you get into the fitness side of things, you are a lifelong student. There's always things you can be doing better. The little things make the bigger difference the further as you go along. You know, when you start, obviously, you're going to be making big changes, right? However, the further you go down your gym journey, the smaller those adjustments are going to make. However, the more progress they're going to make. So what I'm trying to say here is that you're forever learning. So I could have been an egotistical twat. I could have just cut that clip out of that guy teaching me stuff. However, that's all part of the game. That's all part of the journey, right? Me as a coach, you know, Jeff Nippard, for example, all of these guys online, you're seeing they're always constantly learning. As much as they know and as much as I know about fitness, because obviously you've seen that I've built my body to a pretty good standard and I'm helping beginners do the same, you've always got more to learn, and there's always someone you can be learning from, right, if that makes sense, you know? It's like if you reach level 8 in a video game, yeah, you're most certainly qualified to help people get from level 1 to level 2. However, there's people that are on level 9 that you can learn from so you can get to level 9, if that makes sense. So there's always something to learn, whether you're just starting in the gym, whether you're 10 years into the gym, whether you're bloody Mr. Olympia and best bodybuilder in the world. There is always something to be learning. And the sort of the message from that little thing is that ego is the enemy, right? Don't let your ego get in the way with you. As I just said then, like a lot of quote-unquote gurus do on the internet, they just cut all of that shit out of them making a mistake or learning something or looking like a little bit of a noob. However, that's what it's all about. You've got to let your ego go, and you've got to be open to whatever anyone is saying. You know, you've just got to be open, because that's the only way you learn, right? And the most important factor that's going to help you progress in the future is your ability to be able to hear people out and learn, right? So that's one of the most important things, and that sort of brings me to a close for this video. So if you have stayed this far, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your time, and I hope this has been entertaining and it's taught you some stuff, and you're feeling in a bit of a better place if you don't necessarily know what to do for chest, etc, etc. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like, drop a comment down below, and also a little subscription if you want to stay around. And if you're still here, that is the perfect opportunity for me to be able to invite you into my very own free community that I was talking about earlier. So if you want to check it out and you want, you know, a bit of free coaching from me, it's going to be in the top link in the description. We have over 220 people, actually over 230 people now. The community is growing, and I'd absolutely love to have you as the newest member in there. So without further ado, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next training video next Tuesday.